So just to be clear, Bitcoin is a non-sovereign, hard cap supply, global, immutable, decentralized, digital store of value. I'm not really a tech investor by background, and I'm not really a tech kind of guy. I don't own an Apple Watch. I think Alexa's big brother. I've always kind of been like that. So, you know, I saw Bitcoin pretty early, not nearly as early as some people, but around when the time Silk Road got shut down in late 2013. And then in early 14, Mt. Gox got hacked, and that was sort of confirmation to me that this wasn't really an investable asset class. So I stopped paying attention to it in early 2014. And then fast forward to the back part of 16, the price started going back up again, and it popped back up on my radar. I started doing more research, and then all Ethereum and all the ICOs in early 17, those started going crazy, so I started doing more research around those. As I was doing that period of self-study, I just kept coming across revolutionary concept after revolutionary concept, and collectively, over about probably 500 hours of self-study in the summer of 2017, convinced myself that that this technology was going to be the most important innovation since the internet the first time around, and as such was likely to be the most significant investment opportunity of a generation.
Why? Because I feel like up until that point, what was going on, whether it's in cryptocurrencies or in the underlying technology here, was something very separate from what was going on in the rest of the world. And I do feel like right now it feels like we're in an intersection where we talk about cryptocurrencies in particular in relation to what's going on as far as monetary stimulus, a lack of fiscal stimulus perhaps from governments. It's like the intersection of the two things are tied, particularly now.
Yeah, so now is an incredibly interesting time from a global macro perspective, and it also is to borrow a phrase from the Old Testament, it appears that crypto has been created for such a time as this, with what we have with monetary and fiscal policies from central banks and governments, big tech overreach, government overreach in general, data privacy issues that are coming to the front and center of the sort of collective consciousness, and specifically with Bitcoin, and maybe we can put sort of Bitcoin in one bucket and put all the other crypto assets in a different bucket. Bitcoin has gone through a number of different sort of identities or phases over its 10.5-year history, and I think part of the confusion that the sort of average person has with understanding Bitcoin and other crypto assets is because of these evolutions of identity. So just to be clear, Bitcoin is a non-sovereign, hard cap supply, global, immutable, decentralized, digital store of value. And that's a lot of different adjectives, but all of them are very important. And what that leads us to is it is a hedge against monetary and fiscal irresponsibility from central banks and governments globally.
You're basically saying actually that at a time when it looks like some of the biggest economies and the central banks in those economies are enacting a race to the bottom as far as their currencies are concerned, pushed by stimulus to support the economies, actually cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin offer a better, an alternative source of protecting your wealth? Is that what you're saying? Because you use the term hedge there, which is an interesting way to describe them.
Yeah, so the way that I think about it is it's apparent that major central banks are all racing to devalue their currency faster than everybody else. And if all these central banks are doing that at the same time, what are they devaluing against? They're devaluing against things that have provable scarcity. And gold has provable scarcity. Bitcoin has even more provable scarcity than gold. In Austrian economics terms, it's the hardest money in human history. And I understand that it's not sort of bite size for the average person to understand this. You have to understand some amount of cryptography and computer science and game theory and sociology and governance and mechanisms. There's a lot of things that you have to understand. But simplistically, It is an insurance policy against monetary and fiscal policy irresponsibility. And it's apparent that the world needs that more today than they did yesterday, and they're going to need it more tomorrow than we need it today based on what central banks and governments are doing.